Tonight, class of 2028, really appreciate you spending this nice getting into spring night with us today. Thanks for your patience. Gave it a few extra minutes instead of making a long walk. A lot of you probably had a long walk from down by the parking lot. Tonight is if you haven't done this before, a test experience of how there's often multiple events around here and fighting for parking. So get used to that. That's not something you've done before here. We've got, I think, baseball and lacrosse and volleyball tonight. Engaged students like you all will be coming up soon. Students hear a lot and doing a lot of things. So that's the exciting part about it. So thanks for being here tonight, and thanks for taking these next steps in getting ready for class of 2028 and your freshman year. Let's say a prayer together, please, to get us started. In the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Just ask for God's blessings on this class of 2028. We'll only be together as a group a couple more times before the school year starts. So just take a moment to appreciate the group of us, the class, as it's coming together. For the 4 years you have in front of you. For the love of your families that are in this room with you here tonight. For the presence and love of God here with each of us tonight. Let's pray for peace in our world. And for those who celebrate Easter, coming into the Easter weekend, pray for God's blessings and peace and hope of Easter on all of us. Amen. All right, so again, tonight is next steps, and if you were here for the first one, we have a little bit more of a packed, even presentation of details than the one you had last night. Hopefully you'll see why we had to split this into 2 nights when you see how much we have to share with you tonight. Once again, everything is on Brebeuf 101, and this is recorded, so you can go back and look at anything, and you've got so many people here who are here as resources for you. So you've got lots of places to learn about what you need to do. I'm going to start with a quick recap of where we've been, and hopefully these are all things that are familiar to you already in the process that you've been going through in the onboarding. So you've done course request form 1. It was emailed to you a month ago after our last meeting. That was the one where you indicated things like summer school enrollment needs, and your choices if you wanted to be considered for English and world's history, AP and honors in those areas, and it gave some more information. So those forms are done and completed. Thank you for doing that part. Next, and also accommodations were on that form. Next, you'll be continuing emails from Colleen, the admissions team, and all of us on counseling coming in. You'll have placement tests and scheduling happening in April. That's kind of what to focus on in April, is placement tests and counselors, and that's everything you're going to hear about tonight. And after that process, we do have one more event before the end of the school year. That's the scavenger hunt at the beginning of May, and I encourage all of you to come to that. It's a lot of fun, community building activity for the class. But coming up in the next month or so, you're going to be thinking about placement testing as you need it, and scheduling and meeting with your counselors, and that's a lot of what you're going to hear about tonight. So you're going to hear tonight from our math, science, and world language department chairs to talk about the curriculum in those areas, the options that you have in front of you, and the information we're going to ask of you coming in the next couple days. We're going to talk about the placement test process, what tests you need to take, what tests are optional in April. We're going to talk about the school counseling program a little bit more. You heard from Ms. Ashworth last time. You're going to hear from her again to talk about your counselor and how you start by setting up a meeting with your counselor in the coming weeks. You're going to hear about in your freshman year schedule how you give us choices about electives. If you have room for electives, especially through summer school, but sometimes even if you don't, if you have an interest in taking some electives, you're going to be told information about what those are tonight and how to give us that indication so we can put those into your schedule. You're going to hear about the visual performing arts audition process from our band and orchestra director, Mr. Lee. And I'll show you the next form that's hitting your inbox, I think tomorrow, and how to deal with that. And then we'll have time afterwards, like we did last time, to hang around for questions. We'll stay until everybody's questions are answered. So I'm going to start by introducing our math department chair, Ms. Kaylee Trump, who's going to talk about your freshman year mathematics. Kaylee.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kaylee Trump, and I'm the mathematics department head. I I love seeing all the new families. I'm very excited to welcome you all. I love Brebeuf so much. It's so special to me because I am actually a graduate of Brebeuf myself, and I eventually came back. So, living proof that we made it, right? So, anyway, I wanted to share with you, this is kind of a mission that we are driving our math department with. You'll take a second and look at this. This is what we would love all of our students to see. We want them to have an experience. We want them to engage math as a living, exciting exploration and understanding of ideas, one in which they are unlimited in potential, empowered to persist through challenges, and fully prepared to engage the highest levels. That sounds very robust, right? We do not want to create robots. I want them to be good at math, but I want them to have fun and think. So, speaking of that, I'm actually going to ask you all to do a little activity before I hit you with all the boring details, okay? So it's going to be great. Even if I see someone shaking their head at me, don't worry, you're all going to be great at this. I want you to take a second and look at these images and decide which one doesn't belong. Just saying. Okay. Turn to the person next to you and hold on. You're going to say which one doesn't belong and why, and then the other person cannot pick the same image. So if they picked yours, you give a different one and why it doesn't belong. Go.
So one, the cookies big. Second, the football is the big guy. Third, there's a brownie is a baked good that is clear, not like it's not just type shape. And then we have the chocolate cake, which is the weirdest of it all because unlike everything else, the football has a way back. No one else, but the cookie doesn't have it.
Alright, I can do these all night long. Okay, just a show of hands. How many of you said the football didn't belong? How many said football? Okay. How many said the brownies? Okay. How many said the pink cookie? How many said the happy birthday cake? Okay, all of them represented. I love this. Okay, this seems very silly, and what does this have to do with math? This is exactly the kinds of things that we want to do in our classrooms, right? Everyone in here has an opportunity to contribute to this conversation, regardless of your level of comfort with what we're talking about. Everyone has something to say. So I like to do that just kind of break the ice a little. I have a lot of information to throw at you. This will all, again, be online on Brebeuf 101. I'm also happy to answer any questions that anyone has. So when we look at math courses that our incoming freshmen will take, these are typically where our freshmen will apply. Algebra 1 and Algebra Prep, they will be taken concurrently, so they're still in our algebra class. Our Algebra Prep course is designed to just help build in a little bit of foundational skills for students that might struggle a little bit in algebra. So we will be supporting Algebra 1 alongside with what they're doing in the Algebra Prep class. And then obviously Algebra 1, so that would be if you're just taking standard trajectory, you took 6th grade math, you took 7th grade, 8th grade, or pre-algebra, some schools call it, you walk into our Algebra 1 class. Some students that have advanced studies in their middle school might take geometry freshman year, Algebra 2, or pre-calculus. So it just kind of depends on our experiences. Math placement, we reevaluate every year around January before we do scheduling. So if a student walks into on-level geometry, that doesn't mean that they wouldn't necessarily take honors the following year. That's a conversation we'll have after this coming year. So you're not locked into any kind of track. So for all of these, our goal when we place, and I'll go through the different exams, our goal is that every child is appropriately challenged where they are. We don't want anyone to walk in and know the entire course, because you won't be able to learn very much with us. We also don't want anyone to walk in and feel like they're drowning. So our goal is to find that exact right placement. So that being said, like I said, there's our goals there. What we do is depending on which classes you've taken, and I have another slide to show that, is which exam you will take. We have years and years of data based on where different categories put different students being successful, and that's how we are going to decide where the best placement is. So we will use our HSBT exam and as well as whatever exam they take with us to look at the whole picture. And if we need to, obviously we can look at our portfolios as well with transcripts and teacher recommendations. We can go down there if we need to. And if your child places in honors, because obviously we have honors courses, one question I get a lot of is, okay, my child tested into honors geometry, but we're a little nervous about their heavy course load. Can they just take on level? And my answer is always yes. You know your child better than anyone. So just because you might place into a higher level, you are welcome to say you just want to take on level. And again, next year's placement is reevaluated as far as honors and on level. So, which one do you take? Like I mentioned before, if you are just your on-level trajectory, you've taken the normal math every single year, then you're going to take our math skills assessment. So what this allows us to see is if we need any additional support, where we can look for that algebra prep course, and if you're going to need some support there. And if you are currently in Algebra 1, we have an Algebra 1 Mastery exam for you to take. If you're currently taking geometry, so those students would have already had algebra, usually as 7th graders. So we have a combination exam. So this combination exam will have one portion that will do the algebra skills, and the other portion that will do the geometry skills. And then if you're currently in Algebra 2, obviously the Algebra 2 Mastery exam. We don't need to put a combination there because the Algebra 1 skills are assessed inside of the Algebra 2 Mastery exam. Our admissions team has been working really hard to help identify which one you should be taking if you are not sure. So you're going to be receiving an email the next day or so, and it will say recommended placement exam. So what we've done is gone through transcripts as to what your sending schools have said. So if your sending school indicated that you were in Algebra 1 this year, that's where we put the Algebra 1 Mastery exam. So if you notice that when you get that, you think there's an error there or it's not the correct one, please feel free to reach out to us because we are still talking to some of the schools. Why is this placement so important? We actually have over 50 different sending schools in most years, so those programs differ very, very much. So it just depends on where you're coming from, different emphases of the courses, and obviously we know coming out of COVID, there have been shifts in education because of that. So we want to make sure that you have all the skills needed if you're going to move past any of those. I will say that about 1/3 of the students that take our algebra exam do end up repeating algebra with us, and that is not a bad thing. I personally myself teach Algebra 1 as one of my courses, and those students grow so much in that year. So even though they might have had algebra before, they were just missing a couple pieces to be able to put those legs together. And we were able to really re-emphasize those in our class and make them super confident in math. I have several in my class this year, and I know one, we just had this conversation yesterday. She said, I'm so glad I am in this. I understand it so much better than last year. I said, that's great, right? So we want them to do. So please trust us in that process, that we are really looking out for the care of your children. So, now, let's see. Oh, and then also one more thing I wanted to mention, Brebeuf 101, it has everything you need as far as topic lists. So if you're sitting here saying, I'm in geometry, what exactly are they going to ask me about Algebra 1? If you look at Brebeuf 101, there are the lists right on there. It'll tell you the topics that we're covering. Same thing with geometry and Algebra 2. Like I said, I'm happy to answer any individual questions. But most importantly, we are excited to have your children with us, and we will have a wonderful math experience no matter what class they are in. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Brebeuf, and we're moving on to world languages. It's my pleasure to speak to you tonight about world languages at Brebeuf and what's possible for you as you either advance your studies of French, Latin, or Spanish. You may want to start fresh. You may want to choose a new language, have some options, and even add a second one. That's a possibility. I'm often asked about some of these you may. I want you to consider your academic goals and personal preferences. What are you curious about? Do you like to travel? Perhaps you're curious about the ancient past and its connection to modern life through the lens of Latin. Perhaps you've already traveled to France, Canada, or Africa, or to a Spanish-speaking country and would like to deepen your understanding of culture and language. So now, think about your aspirations and experience with another language. We want you to advance for coursework that best suits you where you are right now. No worries. Expect to take a minimum of 3 years of a world language. Of course, we would like you to take more than that and go on to an upper level class in order to experience that full arc of understanding, real personal challenge, but also personal growth. And we're there to support you along the way. And since most colleges and universities require coursework in a world language, including a classical one such as Latin, that's the one I've worked with a long time, your work here will help you later on, oftentimes really in unpredictable ways. So just be open. There's a lot out there. What impresses me most about Brebeuf's World Languages Department is that for a school our size, we offer upper level coursework, in all languages. There's a dual credit possibility in Latin, and then we have AP, French, and Spanish. Our experienced teachers, love to chaperone their students on either an annual or biennial trip abroad. Most of us in the department have lived abroad or studied abroad at some point in our careers. The pictures you see here in the last couple slides, or this one and the previous one, are from last year's trips to Italy, Spain, and France. School-based trips are great. They offer an educational component that can be transformative, and it's a really safe way without your parents, students to travel with your teacher and experience another culture. They are a lot of fun. I've done quite a few. So briefly, what is your first next step? If you're currently taking French, Latin, or Spanish, please sign up for the placement exam. If you've lived or studied abroad or speak French or Spanish at home, please take the placement exam. By taking the language-specific placement exam, we can establish the best board of entry, so to speak, for you to begin a new chapter in a world of possibilities. So please feel free to contact me, and I'll be in the lobby after this program. Thank you all.
Good evening, everybody. I am Mrs. Estem. I'm the Science Department Chair. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about science and some of the things that make our department special. You can see in the picture we've got some students that are staring at skeleton, probably in anatomy, physiology. We really focus on developing lab skills with our students, and so one of the things that I like to talk about with our freshmen, since most of our freshmen will come in taking biology, is that they will spend about 30% of their time in lab. So when they come in, whether they've come from a school where they really received a lot of lab work or haven't, that's kind of our mission, is to really make sure that they're all feeling really comfortable in lab situation. So the requirements here at Brebeuf are that you take 3 years of science, and every student needs to have 1 year of biology. This is the Indiana State requirement. 1 year of chemistry or physics, and we also offer integrated chemistry physics. And then 1 additional year-long science course of your student's choice. Most of our students will take 4 years. Several students will double up. Junior year, senior year, we have some students that will triple up in some years. We definitely have science classes that cater to kids that absolutely love science, and we have some that just help students develop into better citizens. So for example, we have AP courses. I had to list these so I didn't forget anybody. Environmental science is AP course where we actually have an outdoor lab. I don't know how many of you have had a chance to kind of travel back in the woods, but early in the spring and here pretty soon as it gets nicer, our AP environmental science students will travel out to the woods and look at the creek and just explore and check out the vegetation. They really have a great indoor lab experience, but what I love about their ability to do is go outside and explore as well. We have AP Chemistry and AP Biology, AP Physics, and we also have AP Physics C, which honestly is extraordinary because there are a lot of schools these days that aren't even really teaching physics, and so to have on-level physics, AP Physics, and then an AP Physics C course is wonderful for our students that are really thinking about engineering. A typical course that a student might come in and take is, as a ninth grader, they take biology. And then most of our students will take either on-level chemistry, we do have integrated chemistry physics that we have a section of next year, and honors chemistry. We have some students that will take as sophomores honors chemistry and zoology. I've had a student that has had honors chemistry and physics as a sophomore. So we do have some students that will double up. We offer zoology, we offer anatomy physiology, and we have a very popular class with seniors called biotechnology, which is very hands-on. So when I say biology is in lab about 30% of the time, I would say biotechnology, they are in the classroom maybe 30% of the time, and in lab 70% of the time. We really encourage kids to follow their passion and what they want to take. So we have some students that take biology as freshmen, and then they try to take as many biology-related courses, anatomy, physiology, zoology, AP Bio. So the courses are really wide open, and we're very approachable. Everyone in our department are seasoned teachers, and we work really closely with our students to help them figure out what the right course of class is for them. A couple things that I wanted to mention this year that I didn't mention last year, because we found ourselves doing this a lot more this year. We're like, wow, we really write a lot of letters of recommendation for our students who do summer research. There are a lot of summer research programs that come across, and most of us will share them on, in class or posters or whatever. And we find that we have a lot of students that will do summer research through IU, summer STEM programs, whether they're a day or a week, whether they have to travel to another state. So that's kind of something interesting that we didn't realize that we write so many letters. But this year we're like, I really should mention that. So the great opportunities. You really get to know your teachers here, so teachers get to write wonderful letters of recommendations for their students, which I think is a bonus. Why did I go back to? I'm done. One last thing, just really quick. As a parent, yeah, I think that's it. As a parent, I just want to let you know, I have a senior graduating this year. And some of you may have students that have already been to Brebeuf, but I'm just telling you as a parent, don't blink, it goes super fast. So enjoy every minute of it, and take advantage of every opportunity.
All right, I'm going to kind of summarize and pause that here before we move on to the next part. The next part is going to be about your counseling meetings and about your elective choices and about the arts and arts auditions. But before we move on to that, I want to make sure that all our questions have been answered about these three areas: science and world languages and math. If you didn't hear this clearly enough, math, everybody's going to take a math placement exam, everybody, in April. Or a language, not everybody's going to take a placement exam, but most of you probably will. Again, if you've taken a world language in the past and you're going to continue that world language, you should take the exam. If you speak the language at home, you should take the exam. If you're just taking Latin and you've never taken Latin before, you don't need to take a Latin placement exam. We know you're starting in Latin 1. So that's the sense in which not all of you will take a world language placement exam, but all of you will take the math placement exam. There's not a science placement exam. You start in biology. The course path up there that starts in honors chemistry is just for students who already come in with a high school credit in biology. So if that's you, you probably already know. And if not, you can follow up with questions, and there's a place on the form where you'll mark that, and we'll work through that process. But everybody else takes biology, there's really not for a science placement exam. So you're going to have these opportunities, as you see up here, these dates to take those placement exams, and you can split them up, since a lot of you will take two. You can split them up on 2 different days, or you can do them both together on a weekend. And there's a registration process that I'm going to talk a little bit more about at the end where I show you the form that's coming to you next. On the forms that come to you next, one of the things we'll ask you to do is register for these exams when you're coming to do these exams. So that's the placement exam kind of summary before I move on to the next part. I want to pause and give you the opportunity. Are there any questions about placement exams or any of those areas you just heard about? Take a couple minutes for that if anybody has any.
Just that,
Yes, ma'am.
just real quick, she mentioned like you would get an email about where, so regardless of what they say, you're supposed to take it.
That's right. Question is, you'll get an email that'll say your recommendation, and regardless of that, you're still taking the test. So I'm going to show you right now the email since you asked. So here's a sample. This one says Greg Van Slambrook because they made this sample for me to show you tonight. So that'll say your name, your student's name at the top when you get this tomorrow. And it's a personalized email that's merged with your information in a couple places. So one of those, when you come down to, and we'll hear about the rest of the stuff at the end, when you come down to here, math placement test resources and reminders, Greg's current math class, Algebra 1, that's where we've taken your information from the admissions process. And you should make sure that's true, that matches. It might say Algebra 1, it might say Math 8, it might say Geometry, or so on. And then based on that, please register for this math placement test, Algebra 1 Mastery Exam. So all of you should have something written in that, please register for this math placement test. And then it reviews those placement test options for you, the lists of topics, links, and then in world language, it doesn't give you that. We don't put in, here's what you're in world language, it just gives you the information again about world language since that's one option. Did that answer your question? Others? Yes, ma'am.
What if none of those 4 dates work? Are those the only 4 options?
Thank you. Question is, what if none of those 4 dates work? Then we'll work with you, and usually we come up with, we see how many people that is, come up with a 5th date, and let everybody know when that's going to be. So I believe there's a place, probably you'll contact either admissions or your counselor. Greg, anything counselor or admissions, do you know? Admissions. So we'll ask you to contact the admissions office and let us know that. We'll collect all that information and schedule a different one. Yep. Yes.
How long was the test? An hour for each one?
Depends on the test. Kaylee?
Yeah, the Algebra 1 and Math Skills are both 1 hour, and then if you're doing the combo exam or Algebra 2, those are 2-hour exams. So if you have to do 2 of them, if you've done already Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2, that'll be 2.
And world language exams are 1 hour. So most of you will be taking 1 or 2 1-hour each exams. Those of you who are taking geometry now or algebra 2 now, you've ended up taking a 2-hour math exam on a Saturday. You're an advanced learner. That's awesome.
It's so fun! It's fun math on Saturday.
Any others before we move on? Okay, good, let's keep it going. Next I'm going to call Raven Ashworth back up here to talk about next steps with school counseling and meeting your school counselor and setting up an appointment with them soon.
Hello, me again. So Raven Ashworth, Director of School Counseling. So I know we just had to sit through all that boring stuff. This is the fun stuff, okay? So I'm really happy to share with you your counseling assignments. So we do alpha breakdown. You are with your school counselor all 4 years. So I'm not just saying this to butter you guys up, you guys are already here, right? But it truly is an honor and a privilege to watch your kids grow these 4 years. We see them come in as these shy, meek little freshmen, and we watch them just totally transform into these amazing seniors. I was just telling a group of my girlfriends that don't work in a high school, we have kids about the same age. I said, you know guys, I really can't wait until our kids are in high school. These kids are just awesome humans, and I really look forward to getting to know them. Now, please know, it is like the Wild West, so just saddle up and hold on tight. But we're in for a really fun adventure. So A through E last names, Anjatica Amani will be your counselor. F through K, Alan Blunt, who's also the head boys basketball coach. L through R-I, Ryan Spray. And then the luckiest people in the room, R-O through Z, you have yours truly. So these people are awesome, and what I will say is that the really cool thing about our department is that we get to know a lot of kids, even if they aren't on our specific caseload. So please know, if you are someone who identifies as male and you need to talk about something and you have me, I am not going to pretend to know the woes of male teenage life, okay? So if you need to talk to someone, you are welcome to just go to Mr. Blunt or Mr. Sprague, and vice versa, okay? Today, I met with a rising senior who their counselor was out today, and she came in and we sat down and we talked, and it was great. So just know, no one is going to be offended if you connect with someone else and want to go talk to them about personal things, okay? So your individual scheduling meetings, so these run from April 9th through the 19th. You will see there's a link to our direct calendars in that email you will receive. These meetings are not mandatory. However, these are really for if you have questions pertaining to your child's placement, maybe they're really teetering on whether or not to take AP World, things like that. You just want to refine their schedule, talk through things, let us know things, whatever it is, that's what these meetings are for. So again, please know, we will get to know your kid. So if this is like your fourth kid coming through here and you don't feel like you need to have this meeting, that's fine, okay? Other thing to note is these will be virtual. They will be through Google Meet, and a Meet link will generate automatically when you schedule that. So Brebeuf, at the electives freshman year, we just have to acknowledge that there's not a ton of options for you freshman year. It just is what it is. But I promise we have a lot more offerings that open up sophomore, junior, senior year. You guys are just a little bit squeezed. But really the purpose of these electives are, one, to just continue exploring passions, but maybe find new passions. Maybe you take drawing 1 and you love it, right? And then you continue on with various art classes. Just getting involved in Brebeuf. We have really awesome band, choir, orchestra, theater programs that maybe you take theater 1 and you decide you want to try out for the musical. And then the really important piece is completing graduation requirements. So for the Indiana Academic Honors Diploma, which you will learn about at a later date, they requires 2 visual performing arts credits by the time you graduate senior year. So here is a comprehensive list of your elective options for freshman year. So yeah, feel free to take a picture. But they will be listed there for you. My recommendation would be to do either 1 fine art credit or 1 fine art credit and a PE credit, or 2 fine art credits, if possible. But again, some people will double up in a second world language, that's awesome. Some people have learning center, that's fine. There's lots of different things for you to do, but I like to get 1 fine art credit out of the way by the end of sophomore year if possible. Okay, we saw this last time, but this again is just an example of a freshman schedule with no summer school classes taken. So I highlighted the 2 spots for the possibility of electives. Please note, a lot of kids have a break, and that's totally fine. You do not have to have a break, okay? So just keep that in mind. You could potentially take 2 electives. Or if you wanted to come in first semester and have that break period / freshman seminar, and then maybe do an elective in the spring just to kind of get acclimated, that is also acceptable. This is an example if you do PE and Dig Apps. Okay. So as you see, there is, again, possibilities for up to 4 electives, or you could do a combination of break and electives, etc. I will say, and some kids might not like that I say this, is that if your student is in Learning Center, they don't also need a break. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. Okay, so do with that information what you will. But again, if you have specific questions pertaining to your child's schedule, feel free to begin reaching out to your child's school counselor. Okay, you have the email on the screen and the phone number. And then, of course, when we have those individual meetings, that is your 20 minutes to ask specific questions, and we can refine that schedule then. I am now going to invite Brandon Lee up, who is our orchestra and band director, to talk more about visual and performing arts.
Thanks, everybody. I got stuck back there when the thing started, and I thought, well, this is going to be awkward, and I have to like walk up the center aisle when everybody else is sitting over there. Like, clearly I'm not in the cool kids club. So my name is Brandon Lee. I teach band and orchestra and percussion ensemble here. The Brebeuf Jesuit Visual and Performing Arts Department teaches students to be creative, collaborative, compassionate, and confident. Additionally, studies have shown that students who participate in music-related activities during high school benefit academically. So I really think that what our students gain from studying the arts in high school is a deeper understanding of themselves and who they are as humans, relationships that they build with other students around them, and then as well as developing discipline and perseverance and things like that while working toward making beautiful things. All right, so here's a list of our performing arts courses, visual and performing arts courses that are available to freshmen. Some of these courses require an audition. We'll talk more about that in just a second. Some of these are kind of like one-off electives where you just take it for like a semester, and then I think like Raven mentioned, like then maybe you move on to drawing 2 after you take drawing 1, or maybe you're done with drawing at that point in time, right? Some of these others are more long-term commitments, right? Like if you're in band or choir or orchestra or something like that, that's more of an ongoing, I'm part of this thing for, you know, years on end, okay? Okay, and then there's Ryan Skaggs with his shades, good. Okay, so these are vocal and piano courses. You see on one side, some of them don't require an audition. You can just kind of place straight in, kind of sort of like we mentioned with some of the world language classes, right? You can just drop straight into those and you can take it at an introductory level. Others you need to audition to kind of see where you're at. So we don't cut anybody in terms of our auditions for band, orchestra, choir, piano, none of that. It's all strictly a placement, like a placement exam, just to decide which ensemble or which class you fit into best. So Matthew Tipple is our choir director, and he teaches all the piano classes. His email is right there, and these are the dates for vocal and piano auditions. So you'll have a 10-minute slot that you'll sign up for during that window of time. If these dates don't work for you, feel free just to email Mr. Tipple and he'll set up an appointment with you to get you auditioned. Okay? I'll give everybody just a quick second in case you want to snap a picture of that. All right, and then moving on to instrumental music. So we have classes for wind, strings, and percussion instruments on one side, and then classes for those of you that play string instruments on the other side. These ensembles often play with each other, like maybe both levels of orchestra will play together, or one level of orchestra and one level of winds will play together, or percussion ensemble will kind of be mixed in with everybody else. Sometimes we have percussionists only in percussion ensembles, sometimes we have percussionists in a band class, and we do just a lot of mixing around, but we get students placed in a course that's going to be appropriate for their skill level coming in. All right, so there's the dates for band and orchestra auditions, so for wind, strings, and percussion. Again, you'll just sign up for a 15-minute slot during that time. If one of those dates doesn't work, send me an email, and we'll get you set up, okay? I believe registration opens up tomorrow, and then the music and all that kind of stuff will be on the Brebeuf 101 page, so hopefully easy to get to. If not, if you have trouble finding it, so just send me an email. I'll get you taken care of. Okay? All right. Lastly, I pulled one of our students aside a couple days ago and just asked her. She's one of those students who's been in orchestra all 4 years. She's in her last semester right now, and just asked her what has been the value in this, or why did you keep doing this? A couple of those years, at least, I know that Maren didn't have a break in her schedule, so she was booked wall to wall. And so here's just some of her thoughts. She said that the environment is unique, and that there are a broad range of ages, personalities, and performance opportunities that wouldn't be possible in other classes or activities. Music engages my mind in a different way that allows me a break from my rigorous academic schedule while still working towards something meaningful and building relationships with unique individuals. The performing arts programs provide opportunities to study classical, rock, and film music, and even voiceover to world-famous commercials. Those of you who came to Music Madness know what we're talking about. Otherwise, probably don't worry about it. But Marin is very, very proud of those commercials, so she insisted. I was like, do we need to talk about the commercials? Yes, it's going in. All right, fine. Anyway, so Marin goes on to say, when I talk to adults who study music at some point in their lives, a common theme is that they all wish they hadn't stopped playing, right? How many, of the grown-ups in the room are in that same boat, right? She said, reflecting on their words has helped me to realize that the effort and the sacrifice it took to be part of this was more than worth it. All right, thanks everybody. I'll be around afterwards if anybody has any questions or you want to talk. We haven't met yet, so thank you.
Okay, back up to summarize one more time. So you've heard about 4 different things that kind of we may be asking from you. They're all up here in front of you. The good news is we do have a one-stop shop email that's coming to you tomorrow. And Mr. Lee mentioned something about snap a picture of that. Even if you haven't snapped pictures of any of this, this will all be coming to you in this email tomorrow. There will be links to all these dates and all these things that you have to do or might do, depending on which one it is. So I'm going to show you that email again, which really has all these things in front of you when it comes to you tomorrow. So you've got your scheduling meeting registration with your counselor. You've got the course request form number 2, which I'll show you in a minute, which asks for which world language you're taking and elective choices. You've got your placement test registration form, and you've got your links to register for your audition. I do want to note that this comes to you tomorrow, and then timing-wise, just so you know, we're here for you, but we are on spring break next week too. So if you have media questions, we're still here tomorrow. We're off Friday for Good Friday, and then we're off all next week. There are people in the office next week, but you might not get your email returned until we get back from spring break on Eclipse Day. Technically, it's a work day. So we'll be back that week, but it's somewhat likely that if you send an email to us next week, you might get a reply to that next week as well, especially if it's very urgent. There are people here for you. Let me show you that email one more time, just to kind of take you through. There's a lot on there, and there's even a little bit of review from last time too. So course request form number 2. This is one we're going to need from everybody, like the last one that you did. It looks kind of like the last one that you did. It just asks for the name and then your elective preferences. So depending on, again, your options of summer school and what you'd like to do in the next year, whether or not you took summer school, we're going to ask for elective preferences. In a lot of cases, we can't guarantee, like as of next week, that you'll be able to be in some electives because it kind of depends on space and that kind of thing. There's some electives that it doesn't depend on space. Like if you're going to be in band, you're going to be in band. You're not going to be shut out of band for space. But if there's things like drawing 1, we have limited space in drawing 1, right? It doesn't matter if you get this in earlier or later. We just try to put them all together and do some things that work for everybody. So if you just do this by the deadline on here, which I think is in a few weeks, and then we'll have all that information from you, and this is something you can talk about with your counselor in the counseling meeting if helpful. It's going to ask you for your world language selection. That's a required answer, either French, Latin, or Spanish. And mark yes if you're interested in taking 2 of those in your freshman year, which we can make work in your schedule and which we encourage. This is where you tell us if you're already in biology, and we might need to look at taking that credit in and then having that chemistry thing for you freshman year. That's all this form is. It's just electives and world language, and that's a pretty short one. Then it takes you down to the scheduling meetings, and again reminds you of which counselor is yours, and click directly into the link where you do the thing that makes it the Google Calendar thing, right? Is the app that makes the schedules it directly with them. Then you go to the math placement test options. I showed you this before, and it gives you the information about them and the world language placement test information. And then here's a click to register for placement tests. The registration for placement tests actually happens on the same platform that you've been doing the other pieces of the checklist for enrollment at Brebeuf Jesuit. So you'll be familiar with this platform. It'll take you back into it. You'll log in. You'll register for your placement tests there. Then it gives you information about those auditions that you just heard about from Mr. Lee. You can click here to register for auditions, again, through that Final Site, that enrollment platform. That's where that happens as well. So this email is a one-stop for all the things you've heard about tonight. You're going to get it tomorrow, and it'll also give you resources. Click here to contact for this and this and this, and any questions, the Brebeuf 101 link, and we're here for you through this process. I think that it covers our information for tonight, so I want to open it up again for questions. A few minutes, if there's any questions that probably not the only one thinking it. You have a few minutes, so anybody in the back there, ma'am?
Yeah, on Brebeuf 101, there's a little part that says athletic registration with family ID live on April 1st. What is our family ID? Is that parent portal login, or what is our family ID?
Thank you. If you didn't hear that, there's the thing in Brebeuf 101 about athletic registration beginning April 1st with family ID. That is a platform where you do your athletics submission of your forms, required IHSAA forms, like your physical and things like that, and it kind of tells you about that process. You don't have to do that right on April 1st, it just opens up on April 1st. I think it's just if I remember right, it's something that you create a login for, it becomes your account, but it's something that you register for once you get on it. And if you're playing a sport that starts its first activities in the summer, then we're going to need those forms from you by the time those first activities start. You'll hear about them through the team as you're kind of getting information about that. And you will just need to do that by basically June, like early June. If you're not planning anything until winter or spring, you might not have any summer workouts. All this varies a lot by the sports. So if you're thinking about sports, I would recommend going on in the coming weeks as you're planning this out. I know you've probably already done this with summer, as we talked about last time, many of you. But if you haven't, just go check out on our athletics website for that team's instructions, any dates that are on there already, on Brebeuf 101, things about the summer workouts if there are any. And then we'll be sending email information to you specifically about athletics to walk you through that process as well. Thanks for asking. Others? Yes, if you have it's a hyphenated or two last names or a last name that has two words in it, you go by the first of them alphabetically. So go with the first one. Yes, that's where we have the alphabet. If you need to double check with the Zeshworth right afterwards. It's a good question. Others? Okay, it's great to be here with you. It's an honor to be teaching your children, parents, having you in the class of 2028. We're really grateful, and we're excited about the year to come. And I just hope the rest of the school year for you, your 8th grade year, it just goes great for you, that you make some great memories, and that you do all the fun things you have there, and don't let it go by too fast before you get into high school. It's exciting, I know you're probably ready to know 8th grade, but enjoy that time together with that community, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks so much.